Welcome to our vibrant network of governance, risk, compliance, and cybersecurity leaders. We share cutting-edge insights, best practices, and innovative strategies to empower professionals in navigating the dynamic cyber threat landscape. Join Circolo de CISO to ignite resilience and data protection across industries.
Hi viewers, great to be back again on another edition of Circulo de CISO. This time we're going to be talking about privacy management program. And to have this conversation, I have a good friend of mine who has been associated with me in different ways for over 10 years, right? His name is Divij Varma. So he's got 10 plus years of experience. He's got proven expertise in IT security and an emphasis on security compliance and governance, data privacy, integrated risk management, digital certificate management, and consulting. And he's worked with global brands. And currently, he's based out of the Middle East. And he's also had the opportunity to see how different laws in different countries relating to privacy has evolved and how it is being implemented. So Divij, thank you so much for making time to have this conversation. So before I jump into the questions and the discussions, I'd like to tell the audience that we would be doing this as a 5-part program. So one of the things which we will be talking about how to build a privacy program, and then we would also talk about various ways of managing in terms of a solution. And then we always say, read and you will be enlightened. And here you talk about data and how much of data and what do you do with that data, right? And then we also are going to talk about the protection message. How do we protect the privacy data? And finally, not the last, but not even the least, but we're going to be talking about the human elements with respect to awareness and training. They are the people who are going to be handling the data. So, Divij, you had an experience of interacting with diverse organizations, regulators to specific organizations, and all of a sudden we are seeing this wave of implementation. The laws were coming in, and people were taking it on their stride and saying, okay, when it comes, we will deal with it. And I think the time has come up now to demonstrate that you have a robust data privacy management program. So I'd like you to share with our viewers your experience in implementing a data privacy program. Divij?
Okay, that's a nice one. But before I delve into your query or my thoughts around the same, I think a crucial point that you missed during the introduction was, yes, we are good friends, but I would like to the viewers to know that Mr. Sujit Christy is my first boss, my beloved mentor, and this will always stay lifelong. And I always credit most of my things that I am doing in my infosec journey because he was the first one to show me the first step. Yes, I have treaded paths, but I would like to start with a thanks. So, Sujit sir, going
Thank
for
you so
your
much for your kind words. I appreciate that.
my pleasure. So when it comes to the privacy program management, like you rightly mentioned, yes, I have worked across geographies, be it India, portions of Europe. Now I am sitting in the Middle East, and privacy, yes, privacy is gaining momentum almost everywhere. You have new laws coming into picture, whether you talk about any country, any geographies. The basics remain the same. The nuances would change, specifics maybe around the penalties or how a particular thing needs to be done. but then the basic, the rights, and everything remain the same. So instead of going the typical bookish style, I I would just like to share my experience around building the privacy program for my current organization, which would obviously can be replicated to other organizations as well with some tweaks. So the first and foremost thing that anybody should understand and identify would be the privacy drivers. So why exactly are you planning to do this program? Is it just to meet the compliance requirements, or avoiding the non-sanctions or your penalties, or is it just uh, your business's wish that you want to complete it? Why these things are required, or I would say essential, is because they will help you uh, obviously create an implementation plan on the overall program management, and the first and foremost, and I would say the most essential part, get your stakeholders buy-in, because you obviously would need the money for it. So
Absolutely.
that's wherein you can clearly articulate the your drivers to obtain the executive buy-in and whatever you will be doing in your privacy program. Then, as a second step, I think it's better to establish your strategy. So, strategy can define the breadth and depth of your proposed program. Like, you might be an organization that spans across various jurisdictions. Okay. Are you going to take all of them at once, or are you maybe trying to go ahead with your HO or one geography first, which has active privacy regulations, and then kind of replicate the framework to your other geographies? So that's what you will be establishing in your uh, privacy strategy. In that strategy, you'll also identify the stakeholders who will be affected, the kind of involvement that you would expect, maybe your organization's readiness and their adaptability to change. Because if you see programs like a privacy program or any big program that you get into your organization, you need to consider these factors as well. Is your organization ready for that change? Are they ready for that adaptability? So that's what you should consider in your privacy strategy. Now you are ready with your drivers, you are well armed with your strategy, then you move to the executive buying and sponsorship. Ultimately, all of this boils down to the money, because in such a huge program, you do need the support from the senior leadership. Their commitment is what you would require, because you would almost be touching all the stakeholders, the businesses, the business groups within your organizations. So until unless you have a buy-in from the management, I don't think you can lead to a successful privacy program. So these are the three stages that I would say, these are just your readiness, your preparedness. Now, I assume you would have gained the sponsorship, you have the money to start your program. Then it's boiled down to kind of the implementation stage, wherein you interact, you meet your key stakeholders, you document how your organization is dealing with data. Now, this is a step that would take most of your time in implementing the privacy program, because you can start with maybe just making a list of all your department. You go to them, start with the my easiest way would be start with the SOPs, or if the SOPs are not available, talk to the department heads. Okay, what is your department doing? What are your day-to-day operations? Because from there you'll get to know the touch points of the data as well as the related systems that they would be using. That will help you envision the overall data life cycle within your organization. So that's one way of doing it. And in parallel, you can maybe, if you have solutions around your organizations, try and do a data discovery scan. You essentially don't need a privacy management solution to start with. Maybe you might be having a data leakage plan, or your IT has some other platform which is doing the scans. Leverage that. Leverage that. From there, you will be able to precisely tell where all my data is residing within my organization. So this way, by conducting these engagement meetings or interview, whatever you term it as, you have a fair idea of how the things are moving in my organization with respect to data. Then you have the scans and the reports to back up your understanding. So that's what you will conclude to make an overall life cycle. Now that you have the data, one of the most important thing that come into picture, and which you can, since you would have understood your data, would be to classify, because classification is of utmost priority. Until unless you don't realize the value of the data, you won't be able to put the correct controls around the same. Something that is not of much value to your organization, and if you are putting in your time, money, efforts to save it as you would do to a very confidential or a restricted information, ultimately I think you are doing a futile exercise. So this is where it becomes essential to document all these things in the personal data usage or the data lifecycle. Now that you have all these things documented, you understand this, then conduct a privacy impact assessment. Assess the impact of these data processing activities on an individual's privacy. How will whatever processing you are doing, how does that in fact impact an individual's privacy? You can identify, and obviously during this PIA, you will be identifying the risk and essentially the mitigation strategies around these risks. Then once you are through with the PIAs, you would be having certain goals that you need to establish during your overall privacy program. From the risks that you would have identified, the gaps that you would have seen during the prevent privacy impact assessments, that will help you establish the goals that you would like to achieve during your implementation. These might be as simple as whether you want to go in for, say, a DSR solution, or maybe small things like, okay, I need to revamp my website notices, my consents, or you might see during your impact assessments that I am lacking on my vendor management piece, wherein you might have vendors you would be involving in some of the processing. There might be shortcomings that you see in your vendor onboarding process or your overall vendor management. So this will help you establish clear goals which are quantifiable and which will help you in the overall implementation of your privacy program. Then you can assess the current state as well. So now this comes down to the control level. Okay, I have my goal. Now I go ahead and see that where does my organization currently stand to fulfill these goals. So that's the kind of assessment piece that you will be doing, and a result of that assessment piece will be your implementation plan. Now, that implementation plan will have a clear roadmap of the tasks that you need to do, the responsibilities, the timelines, which obviously needs to be communicated back to the management. Okay, these are the things that I have find. These are the 1, 2, 3 steps that I need to do to achieve a particular goal. These are my timelines, because this will help them as well as you. They'll have a clear understanding, a clear picture of what's going in my organization, because they are the stakeholders, or in fact your sponsors. So they need to be aware of what's going on, and in such I would say elaborate implementation plan, you will not miss the obvious. So, because if you are going without a plan, there might be things that you might miss. But when I have a clear-cut goal, my implementation plan, I am bang on my privacy program. So that's my way of looking at an overall program.
Which you articulated it well, right? So I'm just going to summarize for the viewers, right? So I guess the biggest challenge which I heard from you is the organization's ability to change from
Yes,
how they conduct themselves today to how they would want to be seen, perceived, and consistently conduct themselves in the future, complying to the privacy regulations. So that is the success
yes,
factor, right? So it will decide whether the organization will break or make based on the organization's or the people's ability to change. The other things which you highlighted is to understand what is the data and where is the data and the touch points. So it's important for the organizations also to discover the types of data and how the data actually relates to personally identifiable information. So today, when we
yep,
talk more on, when we say data, so I don't want the viewers to misunderstand. So there are two sets of data we are talking about. One specifically personally identifiable information, or it can be even personal sensitive information or
yep,
personal health information. So anything which can identify, locate, or contact a person. But then we also have related data, which probably is a transaction or any other organizational
business
data,
data.
business data, which they should be very clear as to how it interacts with the PII data. And then you also highlighted the importance of setting goals. What are those first phase, second phase, third phase? What are the low-hanging fruits which they
Fruits.
could actually attend to? Now, for one of the things which comes to my mind, recalling what you just said, is vendor management. How do you onboard and manage your third parties, vendors or third parties for that matter? Are they having access to your PII data? For example, a payroll processing company would have all the PII data, or somebody who is processing for you and on your behalf all your accounting transaction, which also includes employee claims, maybe insurance claims, maybe travel claims, right? So these things are also important. So understanding the data process and where the data lies, right? And then finally, you're talking about an implementation plan, which is quantifiable, measurable, right? Where you're clearly saying, here's the timeline, here's the action plan, and here are the people who are tasked with these responsibilities. So with that thought, Divij, I'd like to see you in the next episode tomorrow, where we are going to talk about the importance, or do we really need to have a privacy management solution, and what does that mean? So that's a conversation we're going to have tomorrow when we meet. So I would request the audience or the viewers to keep track of our sessions and look out for our videos in our YouTube channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. See you tomorrow.